All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're in the garage. We're looking at a 2015 Chevy Suburban LTZ, and we want to talk about the options, the features of this particular Suburban, and then also maybe talk about the process of buying a vehicle out of state. 'Cause this was bought out of state, driven across country. So we want to talk about some things to consider when you're looking at a vehicle and want to buy it out of state.
Hey everybody, I'm Ron. This here is a 2015 Suburban LTZ. The LTZ is the top of the line for the Suburbans. It pretty much comes fully loaded, has the heated cooled seats, the auto retractable steps on the side, has the third row, and then the captain's chairs in the middle as opposed to the bench seat. When I bought the vehicle, it had 64,000 miles on it. I purchased it in Ohio, out of state, and I live in Nevada, so my choice was to either have it shipped or drive back, and I drove the 2,000 miles back. So we could talk about the pros and cons of that. You know, not a great drive, but it worked out, and it was well worth it.
Okay, so with this being the LTZ, the Suburban, I don't think the 6.2 is available in the LTZ, right? 5.3 is the only option in the Chevy?
Yes, correct. The only options they had for the Suburban was the 5.3. The 6.2 was in the Yukon Denali's and the Cadillac Escalades. So that was kind of another option. I decided that I wanted the 5.3 because one, it takes regular fuel instead of premium, and gets better gas mileage. So that was really the only option I was looking at. I kind of decided about both of them, but in the end, I just think it weighed out that I wanted to go with the smaller engine with the lower horsepower, but still plenty.
Yeah. What was your average miles per gallon? So you did a 2,000 mile trip in this just recently, driving like cross country. What was your average like MPG on this?
Average came out to about 18 miles per gallon, and that was doing about averaging about 80, 85 miles an hour. So I think on a normal commute, if I was commuting back and forth, I'd probably get about 20 to 21. It says 22. That's what their manual says, but I think it'd be kind of hard to get 22, but close enough for a big vehicle, heavy vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the 5.3 is a good, the LTZ is a good sweet spot for this vehicle because it's like you get a lot of the top of the line options, but you don't have to, you're not getting that bigger engine where you're putting premium fuel and having to get worse gas mileage.
Yeah, I was a little concerned about the power, but I have a smaller SUV that has a V6 that was a little bit underpowered, so I was kind of concerned with going a little smaller, but it's actually pretty good. It's perfect actually, rather than having to spend all the extra expense on the bigger engine. So.
Yeah. So for 2015, this is a 2015. 2015 was the first model year for this new body style, this redesigned body style. It was 2014 in like the Silverado trucks, and then it seems like the Suburban, the big SUVs, they kind of are the year following. So this was a good choice because a 2014 is going to be the older body style, and this is a complete makeover for that.
Yeah, that was kind of a big decision maker too, because the 14, they're kind of similar in size, but they had different, newer options for the 15. And one of the biggest options that I was concerned with was the third row seats. So the third row seats before 15, you had to actually pull them out. They didn't fold flat. So that was nice. So this came with the powered third row seats that fold down, and
they fold flat, right? When they fold down.
They fold flat when they fold down. Yeah,
that's a big deal. The other ones were a pain.
Yeah, for sure. So these LTZs, they had the next trim down was the LT, which those were nice too. They had they still had the leather, and some of them had heated seats. They had different options that you could add to them. I definitely didn't want to do the LS. That was the lowest model with the cloth seats. Didn't really have too many options on them. Same engine and everything, but this is kind of, I was looking for most of the options in here. This actually came with the Sun Entertainment and Destination package is what they call it. So it has the two DVD player or two DVD screens in the back, one for each row, and so it had pretty good features for it.
One other thing I remember you telling me when you were looking for this is there's a lot of two-wheel drive options. You went four-wheel drive.
Yes. And
four-wheel drive, if you're going any kind of like inclement weather, off-roading, you want to have that just because this is a big vehicle and only doing two-wheel drive, it may not be able to get through that. So searching was probably another reason why you bought out of state is because just finding the configuration that you were looking for was hard.
Yeah, that was true. I was looking for I was kind of debating back and forth, and the four-wheel drive was definitely in lesser supply. So I was looking for two-wheel drive at one point just because there were more out there and the prices were better. But in the end, I do travel to Tahoe every once in a while, into Utah, and they do get some inclement weather. So I decided in the end to go with the four-wheel drive, which was lucky because on the way back I hit snow. So I'm happy I dealt with that. So this has the four-wheel drive that you can switch from two-wheel drive to auto, which basically puts power to whichever wheels need it at the time. So, and then it has 4 low and 4 high. So yeah, that was definitely a major factor, and happy I went that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other feature this has, and we'll show you here how this works, but if you want to go four-wheel drive, but you keep seeing two-wheel drives, there's 2 knobs. There's a light knob, and then there's the four-wheel drive knob, but this also has the trailer brake controller, which means that it has the max tow package.
Yeah.
So the max tow package means you're going to have, that trailer brake controller. You're going to have probably some better cooling. I don't know if they changed the gears or not, but it means you're going to be able to tow the maximum payload for this for these vehicles.
Yeah.
With this option. And so if you're looking for a four-wheel drive, make sure that it has that second dial, because that's where the four-wheel drive selector is.
Yeah, definitely. And that wasn't a major factor for me. I might end up towing at some point, so I did take that into consideration. But the four-wheel drive was the main thing I wanted, but it just so happened to have the tow package, which was nice.
Yeah, and it'll be nice. Like resale-wise, I think resale-wise, the four-wheel drive and the max tow package is like probably the most desirable.
Yes.
That
probably.
people would want, and so it's nice to have those options. Two-wheel drive, most people could probably get away with two-wheel drive, but really, I think resale. I always look at a vehicle like when I go to sell it, is it going to be a desirable trim, options, and I think you went with the right options with this.
Yeah, for sure. Called it brownstone metallic, which I've never seen before on a Suburban, and that was another kind of selling factor. I mean, I wouldn't have driven from Ohio to Nevada just because of the color, but it was nice. Nice to have that.
Okay, one other thing to consider is sometimes in your state, you may not be charged sales tax if you buy from a private party. So for example, the few that I know of, like Nevada or Arizona, if you buy from a private party, you don't have to pay sales tax. That's a big bonus. And so you were looking for private party deals as well as dealer deals. How did that kind of work out in your search? Yeah,
I mean, there were quite a few private parties selling this particular model. So again, I was looking for the Yukon XL and the Suburban, which were pretty much the same vehicle, just different badges and things like that. So the difference in price, if you're having to pay sales tax, was about $2,800, I think it was. So that would have been a nice little, savings if I went private party. So my goal was either to find a private party that was, selling or a dealer that got me in the same price range as if I bought it plus, including sales tax.
Yeah.
So I ended up going with the dealer just because it just worked out that way. I felt, it's a little sketchy, I guess, sometimes when you're dealing with a private party because you don't know if you're getting the full story when you ask them for the background and the history and the service, that was done on the vehicle. So
yep.
I think with a dealer, it's, they kind of have more at stake if they, don't give you the full background that they're aware of anyway.
Yeah. So
I think the biggest thing for me was just knowing, to ask certain questions about, before I made the trip, so I wanted to know the Carfax, first of all, of course, and if there was any accidents, if the Carfax shows the services that were done on it.
And this had a really good Carfax. I remember seeing the Carfax of this too, and it was serviced at like a dealership, so like a Chevy dealer. It wasn't serviced like Jiffy Lube or something. It was like a full dealer. So usually the dealership servicing, you can kind of trust that. I trust that a little bit more than if it has no service history and the guy says, "Oh, I just did everything myself" or something.
Right. Yeah. And this one had just the one owner. It looks like it was a demo at one point because it was one owner, and then stayed with the dealer for 11,000 miles before it went to the first actual owner. And then, but yeah, there was pretty consistent service history at the same dealership throughout the life of the vehicle. No accidents. So that was, a big decision that kind of made me feel comfortable about the vehicle. I also asked, the dealer to do a walk around with a video so I could see the whole outside of the car. Had him point out any kind of, blemishes or anything like that, scratches. And same with the interior. Just, want to make sure there's no stains in the carpet, seats, the leather looked good, no tears. And it all checked out pretty good. And I did this with about 4 or 5 different dealers. One was in Connecticut and in Ohio, Florida. So I was ready to go pretty much anywhere and drive back. But this one is probably the cleanest one that I saw. And price-wise, it was good. That was a big thing too, because the reason I flew out there is because anywhere locally in Nevada or California was probably about $10,000 more than what I paid for this. So it was worth it. I spent about almost $400 in gas, points in a hotel on the drive back. So brutal drive, but you know, it was worth it.
So maybe under $600 for the trip.
Yeah.
What kind of costs were you getting, like estimate for shipping? Because that's an option. I've bought a car out of state before, had it shipped out, and that's a little more frustrating process because it's like it's not immediate. It takes a little while and it's more expensive.
Yeah.
What was the cost of shipping that you were looking at?
I looked at I went through a bidding service, you know, so I put my name out there, told them what I was shipping, and then I got a bunch of email quotes. So it started, you know, the lowest I got was $1,600 from 3 different shippers. But the difference was they wouldn't pick it up for another 6 days, and then it would be another 7 to 10 days before I would get the vehicle. So I wasn't necessarily in a time crunch, but I didn't want to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get the car after purchasing it. So
yeah,
that was a big factor too. And I've purchased before online, out of state. So this is the 4th car I've bought out of state. One I've had shipped. That was a seamless process. A lot cheaper now because of diesel. I mean, back then because of diesel prices now.
Yeah.
And another vehicle I flew to New Jersey and drove back. So I'm kind of familiar with that. Kind of know what the questions to ask. So I'm not too uncomfortable buying out of state without, you know, sight unseen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely doable. It's just usually what we're discussing too is also like, do you finance? Do you pay? If you're paying cash, I mean, do you go to the dealer? Like, do you wire the money to the dealer and then you wait 2 weeks to have them like ship it? You know, have it shipped to you. I'm a little more uncomfortable with that process versus like. You know, actually, if you're going to pay cash, like I would prefer to go there in person and actually see it, know what you're paying for, and then to drive it back, even if it's a long drive across country.
Yeah, we were kind of going back and forth on that too, just because, you know, I was prepared to pay cash. I went out there with a cashier's check, but if I got there and I wasn't, you know, certain things, you know, I was ready to walk away also. So that was the big thing. I was ready to go out there, and if it wasn't what was represented to me over the phone and on the video, I would have, you know, eaten the cost of a plane ticket and flown back home.
Yeah.
But you know, I was also prepared to, you know, pay, you know, to finance it through them, just to, you know, see if there's anything wrong with them on the drive back, and then, you know, I guess basically let it go back on a repo if I had to, if it was bad.
Yeah, it's the bank's money, not your money that you're putting out there. So yeah,
I felt pretty comfortable. So I basically paid him cash when I got out there, and it was everything good. It was a great dealer, a pretty good experience. The guy was very good about communicating with me. You know, I had a cell phone number. He texted me pretty often, and you know, checked on me when I got home and things like that. So. And just a note, I did find some things when I got home, or actually when I got on the road, that he didn't know about, and you know, I brought it to his attention. One was there was like a scratch on the lower bumper, which I actually saw in the video and brought it to his attention. And you know, he said, "No, I don't see anything there," but there was something there, so he was going to take care of that. And then I think that might have been it actually. So
yeah, they're
pretty good about it after the fact too. So
yeah. Okay, so with this just being the model year 2015 to 2020, I think it's 2015 is a good sweet spot because it's been enough years that, you know, we're in 2023 right now, so it's been a few years. It has, what did you say, 60,000 miles or so?
Yeah, 60,000 miles.
60,000 miles. It's actually hard to find these with like less than 100,000 miles.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I found a ton of them with, you know, 80, 100,000 miles. This isn't a primary vehicle, so that was the other thing. I have another vehicle that's the primary vehicle. This is kind of for trips. So I wasn't, you know, concerned with it being 60,000 miles and putting a ton of miles on it.
Yeah.
But you also, you know, you, like I said, worked out the kinks by the prior owner.
Yep.
I think when I look at the sticker on it, it was about $78,000 new. I paid $33,000 for it, so that's it's pretty good.
Yeah, less than half. Yeah,
less than half. You know, there were a couple recalls that they, you know, took care of a while back, so, you know, pretty much everything is good on it.
Yeah.
You know, the one downside, only one minor downside, is that the Apple CarPlay didn't come out, or, you know, Android till 2016. So, you know, I would have liked to have that, but it wasn't a deal breaker. You know, they do have different options to, you know, install something to some kind of kit to
connect your phone to it,
but it does have the Bluetooth connection. Obviously, it's been working great.
You probably got a 60% discount on this thing, and it has more than half of its life left. I mean, It's cool to see that these cars, they just get so many miles put on them over the course of ownership. So you see a similar 2015 with like 130, 140,000 miles, and they get there really easily. I mean, oil changes and some filter changes, and it gets there very easily.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a car for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, with this mileage and everything, where I am in Nevada and in California, and I mean, actually a lot of places across the country, it's just the prices vary wildly. I think this dealership is kind of in a small town in Ohio. Maybe that's why it was so cheap. But you know, I've seen them. They're anywhere from 38 to 45,000 for this year model, and even the LTs, actually, not even the LTZ, the top of the line. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so I think it was, you know, smoking deal, really.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great looking color, great vehicle. You got
Yeah.
a lot of great options.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching the video. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel for some more content, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.
Thanks.